colleagues. This meeting is being recorded and will be uploaded to the Biddulph Town Council YouTube page. The aim is that the decision-making should be transparent and in the public domain, which will involve more of the community in local democracy. By being in the council chamber, you are consenting to being recorded and your image to be added to the YouTube. The images and sound may be used for training purposes. Any views expressed are the speaker's own and do not necessarily reflect the view of Biddulph Town Council. Please view the guidance on recording in public meetings policy if you need any more information. Thank you. Right, we're back after the recess. Interesting times. Right, Sarah, item 20, apologies and approval of any substitute meeting held on the 26th of June 2024. Proposer? Councillor, Deputy Mayor Adrian Lawton. Seconder, who was present? Councillor Harper. Okay, you accept those? Okay, no problem. Thank you. Councillor Holsworth.
Can I just say that as far as the approving the minutes from last meeting, I'm abstaining.
Okay, you want to be noted as abstention? Okay, thank you very much. Now, 23, to receive a verbal update of the progress of the Biddulph section of the Trent Valley Way. Chief Officer.
Yes, thank you.
This is the transport.
Yeah, we did.
Thank you. So, as you know, we have been working with the Trent Rivers Trust to do some work on the Trent Valley Way. Obviously, from Biddulph Moor, the source of the River Trent, as far as we're concerned, now to the pool there, and then there is a section beyond that that goes through Brownedge to the city to Norton. The area we're interested in when it snowed at the start of the year was when we did a walk of that. And we've been working with them and the county to look at a potential route down to Noxley Pool and kind of make improvements along the way. We had a meeting about that today, the most recent meeting. There have been some discussions about Robin Hill because the definitive map footpaths, which is where we would obviously send people, would take you onto Robin Hill, which is an unadopted road. And it's whether you can advertise a walking route, which we would do quite widely down an unadopted road. So we need to take some legal advice on that. Now, we are members of the Open Spaces Society, so within our membership we can ask that question. So I'll do that to see if we can progress that. Otherwise, you end up sending people on a walking route down New Street, which is absolutely not ideal.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yes.
we can hopefully get an answer as regards the kind of Robin Hill section of that. There's a small area of the path as it gets towards Knipsley Pool as well, which we would need to have a conversation about it being a permissive path. So it's if you come down Lodge Farm Road and you kind of dropped into the top end of the Knipsley pool park there, the county bit, there's a very short bit of footpath which is very well used, but not on the definitive. So that's where we are with that. The county have said that we can use the capital the path improvement project is there, that's the county council, not what CPR stands for. But essentially it's capital funding for improvements to footpaths, and the town council can apply for that. We have done in the past actually off Marsh Green Road, but not for a few years. So the county rights of way officer there has walked potential routes, has identified another area, a few areas where capital improvements should be made to the path. Now we can apply to the county for that work, and then they will do the work. It's a bit backwards really, but it's a good way of getting that sort of thing done, improving accessibility to the path. Then in terms of kind of way markers, so that we would identify it as being the Trent Valley Way, they'd be hoping for a contribution towards those kind of discs and some stickers there. And I've had some interim conversations with Gareth Napper about whether there's any UK shared prosperity funding available for that. Otherwise, we have got some footpaths funding as part of our budget, which is yet unspent. So that would seem to be a very small contribution,
Yes.
I think, but a good one in terms of moving the project forward. The Trent Rivers Trust group haven't got funding to work in our area. They are funded mostly for this particular section of the project to work in the city. So but we're all very keen to move this section of the project forward, it being the very start of the River Trent. So feels like a nice project, a couple of little hurdles as regards the route, but obviously it's something I brought to you before, so I thought I'll just bring you an update and tell you where we're at. Not kind of there yet with the actual final route, but seem to be making some good progress.
Thank you. Councillor Holsworth.
Just a quick question. Presumably the path starts from the spring.
Yeah.
Is there access to that spring? Is there public access to that spring? Because last time I went, we had to go across a private field with a bull in it.
Well, there might well be a bull in it, but it's on the definitive map.
Public footpath.
Yeah. So with it being on the definitive map, you can obviously walk it, and that's what we're trying to do with pretty much the whole of the path is to keep the walk as it will be on the definitive footpath, and then improve those paths as we go on.
Okay, good.
Thank you. Any further questions? No. Okay, thank you. We'll move on to the next item. To receive a verbal update on the Knipsley Highways meeting held on the 15th of July 2024 and the next steps. Chief Officer.
Thank you. I wonder if Councillor Lawton might tag team me here if I forget something. This is for those who maybe weren't around at the time, who've forgotten since then, because it seems to have been going on a while. Sorry, Councillor Redfern can tag team me as well.
Yes.
We had a meeting on the 15th of July with the residents who have been looking for a solution with regards to the Conway Road Green for along and the posts that were there. It seemed very much from discussions and as they progress that there are continuing to be two very distinct issues. One is that the residents just want posts in the green. That's what they want. It's what they've always wanted. And we've gone through a whole process of doing assessments of the situation with regards to schools and all the roads around Knipsley, and they just want posts. So there was a commitment to try and get
surprise, surprise.
And Councillor Church, who's obviously the district councillor in that area, had agreed to take that forward, and there's been some exchanges since then. And the other issue, of course, is the fact that around pretty much every school across the whole town, there are awful issues key times of the day with traffic, the way that people park.
Yes.
of things. So very much, I think residents felt, my perception, I think, is that residents felt they would just like that project done. Didn't really need, those particular residents didn't really need to come to any meetings. And then others, I guess, are more interested in the wider issues of highways, problems around schools, and that can potentially be taken forward as a separate project. I think
Yes.
colleagues in the room.
Councillor Yates, you wish to?
Yeah, just an update that we didn't have a site visit, but me and Councillor Church and the commissioning officer for AES went to have a look at the green. The reason we didn't have a site visit is because the residents specifically said we don't want any more site visits. So we ambled down there incognito, and by the time we finished, there was about 20 residents surrounding us. So we did come to a decision on what was required, and that was agreed in principle by the commissioning officer. So as far as myself and Councillor Church are concerned, it is being delivered. I haven't got an exact time for that to be delivered, but I don't honestly see any obstacles for the delivery now.
Thank you for that. Will you let the chief officer know if there is? Oh, right. Just one moment. Let the chief officer know, any information that you get as and when. Somebody else wishes to speak.
Yes.
Councillor Law.
Yes. I felt there were two basic aspects, as outlined really, two basic aspects to the meeting. Those who were centred purely upon the green, and those with a wider interest about traffic issues and congestion in that and adjacent areas of Bemersley. Now, I think when it came to the green, it was clear at the meeting that there were two schools of thought. One was to replace the posts that had originally been there, which I believe were wooden and eventually rotted, and that's why they're now no longer there, to prevent people parking on the green and churning it up around its perimeter. And these people just want that to be prevented. There were suggestions from other local representatives that perhaps it would be an opportunity to have some biodiversity planting there, and that to act as a barrier, perhaps. And it was certainly clear that it wouldn't necessarily be everybody's cup of tea. So given those two different approaches to addressing that particular subject, parking around the perimeter of the green, the meeting was left with both approaches under consideration. As one of those, first of all, I'd like to ask, and I'll come on to something else in a moment, whether one or other of those approaches has now been decided upon.
To the chair, absolutely both. We're having a shrubbery and a rockery at one end and posts around the other. And they're all happy with that, because the people who live down the bottom end are looking forward to the shrubbery and the rockery, because it turns out that they've already put a park rockery down there anyway, and they're quite happy for those blocks to be expanded. Have they not? What surprised me is that the length and extent of the posts is far in excess of the length and extent of the posts which were originally there. But however, in the interests of public relations, we accepted what they requested.
Good, thank you for that point of information. Do appreciate it. Councillor Redfern, you want to come back in a minute when Councillor Redfern spoke?
Yes, okay.
Yeah, there seems to be some ongoing debate about the number of posts that were there. And I don't really understand why this is the case. There seems to be some suggestion that there were only posts around one of the ley lines. I can assure you that was not the case. The posts went along the whole length of one side. They did not go along the top edges on either side, because that was necessarily left open to allow the machinery on to actually cut the ground, which perhaps isn't going to be.
You can't cut off an area completely, and that was probably the logical thing for that. So are you quite happy with the update so far, the information you've received? Councillor Jackson, I'll bring Councillor Bolton back at the line. You haven't spoken before.
Just reminded me of a very old saying, when you're up to your backside in alligators, it's hard to remember the object of the exercise, to drain the swamp. The first thing has just gone. Unfortunately. That's all.
Councillor Lawton,
The other aspect which has been expressed over the months and months that this working group has met has been the wider aspect of traffic issues in the Knightsbridge area, particularly at school time. On that front, just a couple of things I should like to add. One is that, as previously realised, bus companies tend to miss out that part of the route at school time. And also the one that goes around Brownlees, first 7A, also misses out Newpool Road at school time. The company first suspended that arrangement during the summer recess, but from the beginning of September, it's back again. The buses at the key time are omitting that part. So once again, that issue of the possible solution, or at least a partial solution to the issue, can't be carried out because of the problem itself. The other one is trying to persuade parents to be aware of alternatives, perhaps to driving to school or taking their charges to school, and to be considerate of local residents when parking. A leaflet was produced last year. I spoke to County Councillor Flunder before the meeting tonight to see if he had an update, because I understood that a new set of leaflets was going to be issued now. Because obviously with schools, the people involved change to a degree as people leave and new people start. So there'll always be a need to restate this. And he tells me that leaflets are now available, be given to the schools and are good to go.
thank you. Thank you very much. So you're all happy with that update? Councillor Salt, you wish to add something?
Just to double check whether the committee as was is going to fold completely now you've solved the issue of having the post back, or it's going to morph into a different kind of working group with regard to school parking. Because if it is, I do have a solution on St John's Road, which is included as within the Knightsbridge traffic schooling issue because of the Roaches school. So as you go up St John's Road, there's quite a significant piece of land on the left, which you could make bays, put in bays there, which would help with the Roaches parking. And the footpaths are massive as well. You could really do something with that if there was a budget from county. But that could be a solution to that neck of the woods, if you like, but that needs to be included on it as well.
Thank you. Would you like to come back, Chief Officer?
Yeah, I don't think we got to the point where we were deciding what we were going to do about the rest of the highway situation. We just agreed that we were two very separate factions, one who just wanted posts, the other one who wanted to resolve all issues. So with the posts then hopefully dealt with, I think probably if it's all right with you, I'll kind of look at how we might move that forward, whether there's any scope for us to move that forward or whether we decide not to. I'll probably do a piece of work on that, I think, and bring that to a future committee and just see what you think. Because I think there is work to do in terms of lobbying.
Yes.
Albeit there won't be much we can physically do, I think.
Thank you, Chief Officer. Okay, Councillor Harper, you wish?
Yeah, it's just a quickie, really. I'm just wondering from the start of this project to its completion, how long does it take?
Chief
I mean,
Officer.
when I think of the time that the councillor's got and, proper use of council officers' times, I think it's been a complete nutty. I won't say it because I'm on the mic, but you can lip read. And I think it was really, really ridiculous, the amount of time that we put on it.
Officer?
Well,
Shoot me down in flame.
no, not necessarily. Until recently, because I was sort of hoping that we wouldn't carry on with it as it in its current format. We've invoiced Councillor Flunder for it as part of his DHP.
Yes,
So he's paid us through his DHP for this.
yeah.
Are you bottling his tears?
We might be able to sell them on the open market. Councillor Redfern, you wish to come back?
It just really would have thought about the future, certainly. All I ever wanted in the first place, as I've always said, is to get posts reinstated. I didn't want particularly to go off on the journey that we've been going on. I think some useful work has been done in identifying various issues in various areas that we're
Yes.
addressing. But I'm not sure that that committee is the right vehicle to move those.
I was just thinking
projects
that.
on.
Almost the same words came into my head at the same time.
That committee doesn't have any budget. It doesn't particularly have any big influence over what happens at counties, districts, or the town councils. So I wonder what the purpose really of it is. Supposed now.
Be under advisement. Councillor Yates, final speaker, you wish to come back?
Yeah, just to say, knowing what I does know now, I think the approach for this was completely wrong in the first place by having a committee of residents as such. I mean, it's, and again, really what the work's been done at Biddulph, which I have actually got, I just can't release it yet. And that is, it should have been a fully paid up DHP traffic survey to actually consider the options and see what the options are, conducted by officers who are used to dealing with these problems, which would have come with a hierarchy of proposals with costs and potential solutions, which I'm sure would have fitted in various things at the high school, as well as St. John's Road, and as well as Road to School, and as well as incorporating potential, use of car parks under whatever type of agreement which are available in the area, because there are a number of car parks available in the area, if the agreement is right for the people who own those. So I think as much as it's laudable for the DHP money to be paid for a committee, without actually having the officer support with costings and options and a hierarchy of, because I reckon that there's probably about 10 relatively minor solutions which can be prioritised and put in, but there isn't anything to actually without cost that. So I think really it's a case of restarting once the next council comes in May, to be honest, as a proper DHP funded full traffic survey and options. And the reason I say that is not just because elections coming up and obviously there'll be a change of attitude, even if the club did it. But all DHP money has been spent now because of getting the results.
Thank you, councillor.
Time before the.
Thank you very much.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do understand an awful lot. Thank you.
I was listening to him.
Yes, so we'll move on now, if it's all right. Item 25, to receive a verbal update on the development of the new Garden of Remembrance at Woodhouse Burial Ground. Chief Officer.
Yeah, thank you. So I've sent to you the most recent version of this, which took into consideration the feedback that we've given previously as regards the half graves and the distances between them. The architect has met with one of our grave diggers, who seems to do most of our grave digging actually, to take on his advice from that, and has done so, and very much took the view, having put forward the proposal that planning permission would be necessary because of the construction of paths and walls, sort of thing. So planning application has been submitted. Pleased for that.
Good.
Right.
Any indications from officers yet? Nothing yet.
So we just wait that process now, and then we'll have to have a discussion either through the finance committee or through this committee about how you want to proceed with that, whether we do it in small stages, because we don't need to build everything all at once. But we will get to the point where we do need to
Yeah,
start to
do
have those
something.
things in place. So
Yes.
we'll come back to you when we've got some feedback.
Thank you. Any questions? No? Okay, thank you very much. That was a very good update. We know where we are and we'll be making those decisions in the not too distant future. Thank you very much. To confirm the installation of the new bench at the town burial ground and the current approach to the management of benches, see quotations.
With quotation, yeah, so we have one quotation, which is from Broxat. So this is the approved bench within our policy.
Yes,
And it's in the region of £1,000 for a bench.
thought it would be.
Now, the current policy is that we charge for a plaque on that bench. So we purchase the bench and then we charge for a plaque, and then there would be 5 plaques on the bench. This particular one, just making you aware of that, and obviously you'll see the spend which is in line with the policy. This one is going to replace one that we've had removed, which has been in there for a long time, probably 20 years, and had got rotten sections on it. I suspect the people who had originally put the bench in will grumble at us and say that they should give the opportunity to replace the bench, but actually that's not what our policy says.
Yeah.
Our policy doesn't say that you buy a bench in perpetuity and you can have a bench on that spot forever and ever. Their life has come to an end of that bench, and so we're replacing it, and they will have the opportunity to put a plaque.
Yeah.
We've had an application for a plaque in the town burial ground, and so if you're happy, no reason to suggest we shouldn't be happy with the current policy, I'd like to ask you if we can purchase a bench.
Are you happy that we should do that? Speakers, councillor Jackson first,
I was going to say, we'll be chair.
councillor Yates, and then
Could you, yes, two things. One, could you confirm what we charge for putting a plaque on there? And does that make a contribution towards the cost of the bench, or just cover the cost of the plaque? And secondly, that the bench that's been taken out with the rotten slats, are the sides repurposable, reusable?
Sorry, I've answered that in the wrong order. Yeah, so the policy says we charge £200 for a plaque. So that over the course of the life of the bench would cover the cost of the initial purchase of the bench, and that we will maintain that for 10 years. Beyond that, we either take it out or we take the plaques off. We go again.
Yeah.
So it's a much more robust position than previously. We've got lots of benches that coming to the end of their life on the burial ground.
life end time.
So, from a health and safety perspective, they need to go. We should
They
probably
do.
sit on.
Yeah, you certainly don't. Councillor Salt.
It's going to be facetious and ask about.
It won't be light blue. I'll have nightmares about.
You're going down.
Really?
Propose
I need a proposer and a seconder. Councillor Jackson, I think, was proposer. Councillor Proudlove is the seconder. All those in favour? Happy with that? Good. Good. That's fine. And nothing more we need to add on that?
No, I'm not proposing we have a change of policy. We just don't buy benches very often.
Right. 27, to confirm revisions to the allotments policy and findings from a quality assurance review. Documents attached.
Thank you. So, as Councillor Hart says, you've had the opportunity to have a look at these. There's a lot of red in our allotments.
There is.
It's not because there's anything massively wrong with it, but we've kind of brought it up to kind of modern day, as it were, with lots of new information there about how we should deal with particular issues. We've been trying to foresee any issues we might come up against with the allotment policy, and we've taken, as we do with these things, we've taken some advice from elsewhere. You'll be aware, of course, because you've already seen the burial ground review, that we've got a process in place now for quality assurance. So we go through all the records that we keep, the processes that we went through in terms of allocating allotments, management of waiting list, sort of thing. So that's the document that you've got there. You'll see from that there isn't concerns, but obviously we make amendments to policies and procedures to keep them updated. We brought to you before the issue of sole tenants or kind of partnerships. And we've done quite a lot of work on this in terms of seeing what other people do and thinking about how processes might work. So the issue is, of course, that we have a lot of people who garden their allotment plots together as a couple, whether they are married, whether they are in some sort of relationship, whatever that might be, they garden together. So the idea would be that then if one person was the tenant, then passed away, for example, then the other one who had spent an equal amount of time at the plot wouldn't have any rights at all as regards carrying that on. We've had to be very careful in the wording that we've used so that you can't inherit the plot. So you can't then, if you are the remaining tenant, as it were, you can't then add somebody else to that. So it doesn't then kind of pass down, as it were. It's for them, the remainder of the person who's left, as it were, to look after. So we've been quite careful with the wording there, but I'm absolutely happy to take your questions on that or your suggestions as regards changing. We've tried to think through the options available, and then if you are happy with this as a policy, the proposal would be that we would then take this to current tenants just to triple check that they are happy with the content of it, and then we would offer those who currently are single tenants and potentially might want to add a partner, spouse, whoever that might be, to their tenancy agreement, to think about that.
I've got two speakers. I've got Councillor Rogers and then Councillor Salt. Councillor Rogers.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. On use of allotments, line 1, we just have a quick glance at that. It's just a comment, really. I'm all for locking the gate for lone workers on there. I understand that fully. But just a little thought. Says the emergency services would be provided with the lock code. It's asking an awful lot, I think, in time to come. Now, the easy answer, in my opinion, using a chain and a combination lock, using chain and 2 locks, one being a radar lock that all the emergency services carry a key to. I'd hate somebody to be on that site, being ill, or taken ill or injured, and the emergency services didn't have the code to get to them. Now, if there's a radar lock on that, then they carry the radar lock key. Got it, has easy access then. Just a comment.
Thank you. That I've got Councillor Salt.
I was going to say something about 9.1 as well, because we know how difficult it is to make sure that with the defib boxes can be accessed with a code. So trying to get all 3 emergency services to have access to a code, I think is we ran out of nothing really. They do have bolt cutters though, and a bolt cutter will get through a chain that's on a fence. So I mean, a radar key, if that would work, but a bolt cutter will get through better than anything else if someone really needed to get in. But the other point I was going to mention, and you might know more about this than me, forgive me, but in terms of the Equality Act, we're talking about marriage and civil partnership. But are we discriminating against people that don't want to be in a marriage or civil partnership?
Chief Officer.
We've had this discussion, and it's very difficult, I think. Because otherwise you're saying to people, can you demonstrate a longevity of your relationship or something like that? We were looking for a legal status, really. But I absolutely do take your point on that. We've struggled a bit and bashed around with wording for quite a while in terms of.
I know it's at a cost, and I'm not saying, because if anyone's going to do anything about this, you're going to have to take it to some kind of civil court. Sorry to come back, Chair.
Yeah.
Having the money to take this to a civil court over a tenancy of an allotment is very unlikely to happen.
It would be, I think.
It might be worth asking our solicitor that question. I mean, it's very, very, very unlikely that it'd ever get that far and incur a cost to the council if someone complains on those grounds. But I'd just be happier if we just check.
Take your point. Partnership law, relationship law. Yeah, in court, somebody may decide to take it on a pro bono basis, as a no win no fee sort of thing, and give us a difficult time. So you're just trying to preempt any difficulties that we might get into. Is it something that you can note and try and get a more clarified position, Chief Officer?
I don't think I know anyone who'd be an expert in allotment law, that's the trouble with it. So, would it be, do you think we add an element of discretion in there? Do you think if we say, you know, what we're looking for is this, but, you know, it could be
Yes.
chief officer's discretion.
Just put chief officers and councils.
Chief Officer's, yeah, discretion.
So it's not a blanket no for people who aren't in some sort of legal partnership, but it's.
Yeah. Some couples do have some very interesting, you know, sort of relationships that aren't sort of, shall we say, written down in a book that can be quoted. It takes all sorts. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, we just have discretion.
Chief Officer's discretion, I think, is the best thing. I've got then Councillor Jackson.
Yeah, it's 8.9. I'm just looking in the last line. Is remove the right word? It doesn't read right to me. I mean, I've got no qualification in English, but it doesn't just sound right to me. The council will seek to remove its reasonable thought.
Recover. Yeah.
So,
Yes.
Yes. Spot on. Well done. Councillor Harper.
right. Yeah, I'm looking at 11.1. Third line down, the trees must be controlled by pollarding. Who pays for that? Is that the allotment holder or is that the council?
They do.
That's right.
You do.
They do.
They do.
Yes.
Batteries.
Would they be permissible to do it themselves or get a proper tree specialist in to do it?
If it's a tree on their plot, it must be kept at a very reasonable height anyway.
Yes.
The trees around the periphery of the site.
Yeah.
Is our responsibility, or at Moorland Road staff's Moorland's responsibility. But on their plot, the idea would be that they could only have a tree that was, you know, or fruit or,
Right.
or something like that. So in theory, it should be something that they could keep under control.
Okay, I'm looking at 15.3. And the particular bits where it's about non-chemical weed killers, etc. Well, what I'm more concerned about is when you do get moles, and Andrew, you'll know more about moles than me. But you know, the approved method there is by, or it was in my day, by strychnine. Used to go to the chemist.
Not these days.
From now. You know, and all this
Yes.
stuff.
There are
What I'm coming
You're
to.
you're not allowed to. Things have changed substantially.
It should be done by a proper pest control officer. Because as I said, in my day, it was, because I did the course for it, so I know a little bit about it.
No, we're always nervous about the management of pests, because actually one person's pest is not another person's pest, is it?
Exactly.
But we have two approved pest control companies within our approved suppliers list who've kind of obviously done all the relevant training and the like for the management of pests. So it's not done by allotment holders, it's done by specialists.
Yes.
And absolutely, that's not the way that
Right.
it's done these days.
Fair enough. But the last part to that question then is once again, who pays?
The town council would be responsible for the management of pests.
Yeah. Our responsibility, Councillor Harper.
Yeah. Like I said, Andrew, you know more about it than me.
And rat catchers up and down this area have never been so busy as they have this year. They are, as you know, because we've all had rat problems from time to time, and the number of residents who've said, "Oh, I've had to call the pest controller to come." Some don't always use the council, the district council's pest controllers. They sometimes prefer some of the private contractors who sometimes have the most up-to-date means of humane disposal. in many cases. But I've also got two people, Councillor Jones and Councillor Lawton. Councillor Jones.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'll be quick. Time's getting on.
Yes.
Back to 9.1. How do the tenants get in then? If have they got the tenant to do the lock? Right, okay, well,
We remove that bit about the emergency services then. If
emergency services access is, I mean, all you need to do is put a notice on the gate that says in emergency, ring this number, somebody who knows the number.
Yeah.
Right? So emergency service, certainly the ambulance don't carry a radar key.
Yeah.
And the service don't carry bolt cutters either, as far as I'm aware. So, and even if you gave them the number, the ambulance service, they'd probably forget it. So, I would suggest a little chapel out label that just says in emergency ring. So not you, but one of the tenants could be, you know, the keyhole, and they could just give them the number and let them in. That's the easiest way of doing that. And as for having two locks, Councillor Rogers, it sounds like a good idea. We've had this down at the Grange Country Port where there were 3 locks on, a radar key, and a combination key, and another lock, which I don't know whose that was. Some muppet will always lock the chain together with one lock, making
Yes.
the other 2 redundant. So unless you've got the key to that lock, you can't get in anyway. It's just a nightmare. So I think just as a suggestion, really, just put a little notice on the gate, a little permanent notice on the gate.
Well said. Councillor Lawton, final speaker.
It's okay, I had a question, I've resolved it.
It's been resolved. Good.
Can you just place on record our thanks for the officer or officers who proud this?
Yeah.
I would agree.
You got through with just one dramatic.
I think we do need to thank you very much for that, Councillor Jackson. It's been a very good team effort, I think, there to get for our officers to get all this done. But it was essential to get it updated, wasn't it, Chief Officer?
it was, and so if you're happy, as I said before, the next step will be to write to all current tenants, obviously to put eventually to put this on the website so that it's accessible to everybody, but to write to all current tenants and say, this is our position now with regards to what we can offer you.
Very quickly, Chair, what's the waiting list agreement?
We've let a couple recently. 28.
Okay. Councillor Saul, you wish to come in?
Yeah, I'm just thinking, what if one of the tenants said, all right then, I don't agree to this policy, will we say, off we jolly well park there, or what would we say?
We might say, off you jolly well parked there, or I might say, oh, I shall have to bring that to the committee. And then you'll have it next month.
Have we get it again then?
Okay.
There's always one. As we all know, there's always one. Thank you for that. Right, we need a proposer and a seconder.
Post, Chair.
Opposed, seconded, all those in favour? Thank you. Really good. Now.
You'll have to excuse me. I'll need to go.
Right. Thank you. Right, consider the management of unadopted alleyways within the town. Chief Officer.
Yeah, I'm not sure this item is resolvable tonight or anytime soon, really, but our Lexman is spending a lot of time, which is then our funding, trimming and maintaining alleyways, which are definitely not at and that's so that we can make life easier for residents. So obviously that's why we're here and that's why we do it. But I think we either need a position as regards that, or we need some quite forceful encouraging of other partners to take responsibility where it's theirs.
Yeah, I make a chair's comment. The second comment that you made is probably more acceptable. That other people ought to ante up for their responsibilities. Councillor Salt.
Yeah, I do think that Councillor Proudlove's earlier comments in town council meeting about doing this mapping exercise where we find out who belongs to who, because there's been 2 alleyways on the East Ward, one of which, no joke, and I've got the photo, was like a flipping jungle. It was just unbelievable. And that went from Springfield Road into Duke Street. It was horrendous. You couldn't walk, you could not walk through it. And the Lensman has done a cracking job of getting rid of that. And it must have taken him days. I don't know how long it did take. But that was people denying responsibility, and there was another one from Springfield Road down into Church Road. That was not as bad, but the Landsman over the summer spent time doing that because Staffordshire and Moorlands District Council denied responsibility, your housing denied responsibility, residents were pecking my head for weeks. It was all over Biddulph Chat that the council does nothing, even though it wasn't the council's job, and as a goodwill gesture, Biddulph Town Council sorted it out. So we can't be in this position going forward, but until we can put forceful pressure on our partners, we need to find out definitively who the alleyways belong to. And I do think that that should be a piece of work that Biddulph Town Council takes on, so we can put pressure to our partners whose alleyways these do belong to. Thank you.
Right. Councillor Yates is next.
Yes, I think it is a little bit simpler. I hear where you're coming from, Councillor Salt. It is a little bit simpler to say partners because it implies that footpaths are primarily owned by public bodies, and in a lot of cases they're not. And I think this mapping exercise, once we identify ownership, and certainly one of those footpaths I believe is effectively the equivalent, I know it isn't a right owner responsibility, but it's equivalent to a right owner responsibility for one of the homeowners to keep clear, which is certainly not one of our partners. I mean, it's a private thing. And I know there's footpaths in Gillerheath, which are the responsibility of the landowners, and the landowners don't accept that it's their responsibility because the status is being uplifted in one case to a bridle path, and they bring anything to bridle association, therefore look after it. You don't. You know, well, you know, so it is a problem, and I think there's got to be some way, you know, and I think the enforcement will have to be through the county, and I think the county are distant enough, you know, to be in person, you know, to actually do that. That they're, you know, we need to identify the ownership of all the footpaths and the responsibilities, and then if there's a problem, the first port of call is to get the enforcement done through the appropriate body. Because I would say that one of those footpaths is completely overgrown and was cleared at great expense, and it's a bit like, how much per person does that cost to use that footpath, if you know what I mean, if you're talking about value for money, because
People.
yeah, exactly. I'd say that's what I'm alluding to, it's the same ilk, you know, does it cost 5 pence per person who uses it, or does it cost £50 per person using it? Because I would put to the floor that if it was used often to be cost effective, it wouldn't have been blocked up with grass. You know.
Thank you, Councillor Yates. I've got Councillor Rogers, Councillor Jackson, and Councillor Proudlove. Councillor Rogers.
Yeah, I'm just trying to quicken this bit up, but make some more work in many ways. Many years ago, we had a walk around down some of the footpaths. It was very constructive. I think we should do the same again sometime in the near future, a few of us. Just
Yeah, good idea. Councillor Jackson and then Councillor Proudlove.
I think some of this work's been done. Sharon did a piece of work that mapped most of the footpaths in the town, and it was paid for by, I believe, Shared Prosperity Fund with Garrett. That's what my understanding was. Now, I have been sort of asking for a while now, can the town council get into this information? Because it would save I mean, when you get a phone call saying about a footpath, your first thought is, well, who the hell owns that? And that's the start of your journey as a councillor. Now, if there was a register and say, oh, that's such and such a body, you're halfway there. You're halfway there to getting something sorted. And unfortunately, I think we're all guilty of it, I think, of using our Landsman scheme to circumnavigate that just to get residents off our backs a little bit, just to get the job done. And it's an easy way of doing it. It's not the right way to do it. The people who've got the responsibility. But it is sometimes a nightmare. The one from the top of roads, it's that responsibility is all of the residents that don't know they've got that responsibility. So how you work them ones out is a difficult one. But certainly we need to get let's see what Sharon's got first. Let's use that as a base that we could sort of sit through and see, well, these are the ones we don't know about, and then we can do some work. But Sharon has been paid by Shared Prosperity Fund, by the District Council, which as I understand it, they are reluctant to share with us, which to me is ridiculous, and he wants somebody else.
Chief Officer.
Oh, yeah, I think that's right. I've had to see a copy of that report, not for any reason other than I'd like to see how it was prioritised. Because it was based on residents' views as well.
Yes.
So actually, they presumably have identified some priorities for development beginning walls.
Can we ask our district council cabinet members to perhaps put a little pressure on the right place? All district councillors here to put some pressure on as well, additionally to support the cabinet members. Are you happy with that? Get that information. But one final speaker, Councillor Proudlove. And we'll
Thank you, Chair. Just touching up on that's a point that Councillor Yates made in terms of the lives that are privately owned. Obviously, you know, I think in some cases SMDC needs to properly utilise its planning enforcement powers. In terms of section 215 of the Town and Country Planning Act, it's not been very good at using them, but I think things are starting to improve, change, let's say, given some recent correspondence from the local government ombudsman.
Thank you. So are we happy that the Chief Officer just pursues this bit of information with the assistance of input from district council members and cabinet members to see if they can get this information to give us a start?
Just a point of information there. I mean, you know, what all the district councillors could, I mean, if you can copy me and David in, it sort of touches our remits and things, and then email Gareth and copy us in, and then it gives us something chase. But if it's still not forthcoming, because sometimes there's an intransigence, I mean, I can't imagine there's any logical reason why it won't. Then it'd be an ideal thing if full council coming up, somebody puts a question in and it releases information. That'd be an impossible one to avoid, to be honest.
It's a landmine that's unavoidable.
It is a landmine which
Absolutely.
which is unavoidable.
Yes. So we'll see what can happen from this. Information that you really do need, Chief Officer. It needs to be released, and you need to be aware of who owns what. Councillor Bradwell.
Chair as well. I'll keep in touch with your housing about the work that they're currently doing. I'm sure there won't be a problem with them releasing that, given the conversation last week.
The footpath between Woodhouse Lane and the Uplands is a well-known one. I think the linksman, even though it is Moorlands housing that or your housing, we've always had to get the linksman in to do some work on it because they've always said it wasn't theirs, and we know it's theirs. So thank you very much. We'll move on.
That's a theme.
That's a theme. Yes.
Don't know their own houses.
Well, yes, from what I've heard.
Yeah, that's a whole other story.
That's another one that circulated. Yeah, how you can lose a house or a property, I really don't know, but some people manage it. 2029 item requested by Councillor Eardley to explore the possibility of reforming Biddle Sports Council. Councillor Eardley.
Yeah.
Your turn.
Yeah. Well, the question's there really. It stems from the Rotary trying to organise events to promote local clubs, local sporting clubs, and they're also asking for support from the local council, from us. It was in conversation with Wayne really that said, well, there used to be a sports council which would, you know, be a part of this. So the question was, is it a time to reform that committee?
Councillor Salt.
Yes, I've got quite a lot of information on you because I tried this about 2 years ago to reform the Sports Council, and we really did make a concerted effort, and there was lots of people locally involved. For example, Chris Swift at the high school and his colleague took on the chair and the vice chair role. And there was a real impetus from about 6 people in the sporting community in Biddulph to move it forward. And it lasted 3 months and it it died. Now, at a local, Staffordshire Moorlands level, you need to know that Leek Sports Council is folding, we think. Cheadle Sports Council is folding, and it seems that they can't get clubs to invest the time into running their club and running a sports council. People just really lack the time. So the idea now from Matt Swindlehurst, who's portfolio holder for kind of sport and leisure in the Moorlands, is to create a Moorlands Sports Council. Because we think that would the way that would work, hang on, I mean, there's a lot of history. So prior to that, and Kevin will tell you about this, money wasn't really divvied up effectively around the Moorlands.
No, it wasn't.
You had to be part of the Biddulph Sports Council to get anything from the Moorlands Sports Council. So what you had then was you had people committed to their club that were committed to Biddulph Sports Council that were also committed to attending meetings at the Moorlands Sports Council. And for all the will in the world, people just didn't have capacity to maintain that sort of 3-tier system. So the idea from Matt Swindlehurst at the minute is to recreate Moorlands Sports Council and forget about the town's sports councils. We think that'd work better and might get more buy-in, because that will mean the clubs locally only need to attend 1 meeting rather than kind of 2 or 3. So that's where Matt's leading it. However, there is about how much money, and Sarah's got the books, I think, for the Sports Council, but I think there is a couple of grand in the Biddulph Sports Council budget that needs sorting out, because really sadly the treasurer passed away. I don't think there's anybody on the books that's alive. But are you a signatory? So that the money needs sorting out.
Yes, it's a lot.
Around the Sports Council. I mean, if you want to give it a go and try and get Biddulph Sports Council up and running.
I didn't say I wanted to.
A couple of years ago, I was in touch with every single sports club in the town. At the first meeting, there was about 12 people. About 3 people, as usual, tried to take on roles in the committee. People just couldn't commit. And they didn't see its worthiness. There was nothing in it for them, apart from running another committee. And they've got enough of that in their own sports club to do.
Yeah.
So I mean, I personally would advise not putting time and energy into it, because you'll be the person that needs to do it, because the clubs we've already proven that the clubs haven't got the capacity to commit. But I think what we can do as a council is, once Matt's got the Moorlands Sports Council or whatever that looks like up and running, encourage Biddulph clubs to join the Moorlands Sports Council. But I think a local thing, the years when people had lots of time to commit to voluntary organisations has gone. People have got such busy working lives now that they just can't do 3 or 4 things.
Thank you, Councillor Salt, for that very useful and informative input. Councillor Hurley, I'm going to bring in the Chief Officer here, if that's all right, and then Councillor Redford.
I've got a question about that, really, because I have got the money books in my drawer. Is the Moorlands Sports Council then, would that have a funding allocated to it?
It did have in its previous guides from Staffordshire Moorlands District Council. Yeah, it did have.
So what Councillor Swindlehurst is doing, will that have
money attached to it to distribute to the local clubs? Yes, yes, it will. Yes, it will.
That would be the incentive to go, wouldn't it? Otherwise, it's just a Moorlands talking shop, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. In which case, you'd be better off having a Biddulph.
Yeah. Sorry to the chair, if I can come back.
Yes.
In sports awards like halls as well. But that's died a death. So that was another incentive, getting Biddulph athletes recognised at Moorlands level, but that all fell apart. But I think that needs to come back as well. So there is stuff. I would have a conversation with Matt Swindlehurst, but I think it needs to be done from a Moorlands level, not a 3 towns. I don't think that works anymore.
Right, thank you. Speakers, I've got Councillor Redford and then Councillor Jackson.
Yes, I think myself and Kevin on the Sports Council for I don't know how many years. And of course, it was a very different model then, because the money was actually held by Biddle Sports Council. And you could guarantee that at the funding meeting, the place was packed. Because obviously all the clubs were coming in because they'd all made bids for grants. And it was allocated by that Sports Council. The moment that funding was taken away and placed centrally at Moorlands, it fell apart because people lost the incentive being members of that little Sports Council. And I wish the incentive well, because we do need to start getting this money back to our local clubs. I really do hope that Councillor Swindlehurst is able to do that. But as I say, the previous model was fell apart as soon as that funding was.
Yes, you're right, Mr. Redfern.
Council. I don't think people understand how to access the money. So that really needs to be made very clear how they access that funding.
Thank you, Councillor Redfern, Councillor Jackson and then Councillor Rogers.
Try not to go over some of the stuff other people have said, but there's one or two gaps in what people have actually said. Basically, it was the green-eyed monster of envy, mainly from Leek, because the three towns all were allocated the same amount of money. Now, Biddle might have had 7, 8, 9 registered clubs in Biddle Sports Council. Leek had got 20 something. And Leek didn't like that. They it was fair that our 7 should get a bigger slice of the cake than their 20 are. It's probably understandable. Now, I might be doing him a disservice, but I think it was Councillor Mark Deville who wrote the change, and I might be wrong on that. If I am, I apologise. But I chaired the Sports Council for probably 6, 7, 8 years. I remember the highlight of the year was always the awards evening, and I remember handing over an award to Mr. Wilson, who at the time was a very young Manchester United footballer, as a special mention. He ended up at the Vale and ruined his career.
Yes. Oh.
And it was good and it worked. But the reason why it worked, and this is what hasn't been mentioned, the clubs that were affiliated had to attend a certain percentage of the meetings. And if they didn't attend a certain percentage of the meetings, they weren't eligible to apply for a grant. So that's a bit of carrot and stick, show up at the meetings. And there was the judo club that attended regularly, the fishing club attended regularly, lost the football teams attended regularly, and it worked. And I went to League on several occasions when this move was trying to be put in. I said, you will lose Sports Council. Biddle was the first one to go. Because there was no reason for them to come to meetings. And I think I probably chaired the last meeting when the Sports Council actually wound itself up. One plus that came from it was the bowling green. A lot of work with the Sports Council went through the bowling green, came through the Sports Council as well. So that's whoever wants to resurrect the Sports Council, I would say, as Jill found out, unless there's some financial incentive to get them to get involved, I don't know what model Matt's thinking of actually doing, but anything to go back to the system where the three towns got the same amount of money, I would guess would be fought very strongly against, certainly from Leek, who's got a much bigger contingency of sporting clubs. But it was a shame. I think I dropped all that stuff off at the office, didn't I, when you were parked in there so many years ago.
Yeah.
And interested to see how much, well, I can't remember how, but there was money left. I think Jeanette was treasurer at the time, wasn't Jeanette was treasurer. So, yeah, that's basically the history of it. So I think anybody that's thinking of taking it on should be aware of some of that history, not to make the same mistakes again. And as I say, I don't know what Matt's thinking of doing in the future, but I think Matt needs to know that's the history of it, and that's why sports clubs.
We've got one more speaker.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Councillor Rogers.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, in light of what's been said, I think I propose that we write to Matt Swindlehurst.
Yes,
That we want to be involved. I don't want to set something up in the mornings and Biddulph not mentioned,
yes,
which has happened in the past.
yes.
So if you could write to him and say we'd like to get involved in reforming Sports Council, and please contact us over it and go from there.
Thank you, councillor Roddy. Are you making that a proposal?
I'm making that a proposal, yeah.
I need a seconder.
I'll second that.
Councillor Harper is seconder. Right, so the chief officer will write to Matt Swindlehurst, showing our interest and what he intends to do in the future, and try and find out as much as possible. Are you quite happy with that?
Very happy with that.
Can't you come here and tell us, talk to us?
Let's
Do we have any volunteers that want to get involved?
That's
Any
right.
councillors want to put their hands up now and say they want to do it?
Councillor Salt.
Well, when Matt was talking about this idea, councillor Jones, I said I would very much like to be involved as a
To talk for money.
as a district councillor. Obviously, I've taken that role on to be part of that, whatever he decides and whenever he sets up this group as a district councillor. So I'm not representing the town council, although I'm quite happy to represent the town council on that if that's what this council decides. But I've already expressed my interest to Matt to be part of that working group to kind of
Okay.
advise and meet.
I would suggest that we write to Matt, try and find that information out. I've got a proposer and a seconder, and see where that goes. And then he can report back to this committee and let us know, you know, what the lay of the land is, very much so. And you know, councillor Early, you will obviously be interested in that reply. Councillor Jackson, you wish to come back?
Very quickly, Chair, for me. There is an amount of money in there, and I cannot remember for the life of me how much it is. But it might be worth trying to find out what is in there, and whether that money could be used as a bit of seed money to help oil the wheels or something, to get something going.
Yes.
Matt Swindlehurst, that Biddulph might have a couple of £1,000 you could add to the bottom, help it in some way. It might help to get Biddulph's involvement in there.
Or to obtain some match funding.
It should be spent.
We'll keep it to ourselves and get some more. Yes, thank you. All those in favour?
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with that. All I was going to say was, I wouldn't assume that, you know, Biddulph's involvement in something just because it's a Moorlands wide thing is going to be limited. That's all I'd say.
Okay, thank you very much for that. So, the chief officer will write to Councillor Swindlehurst. Thank you. Thank you very much. Jobs for the linksman. Councillor Yates.
Dotted alleyway and just off New Street. Needs cutting.
Well, and in some respects, I mean, I wrote this list down and I had the same feelings when I wrote this list down as has been sort of stressed when we've spoke about alleys and things, because it's the things which fall between the gaps. And I'll get the perfect example, and it's one which, again, resident contacts me. There's a bush overgrowing on Craig's side. Can you get it cut back? So you think, yeah, no problem at all. So you contact Staffordshire Moorlands to get it cut back. Land registry search, which is obviously more expensive to do than actually cutting the damn bush. It's not their land. So you think, So you then go to your housing, because it must be your housing. Says sort of with his fingers crossed. And your housing turn up. This is taken over 3 months, because what Staffordshire Moorlands don't do, when they say, oh yes, we'll have a look at that and we'll cut it, they then don't say they haven't cut it. And then they don't say that they can't cut it. They wait for you to trip over the bush or get contacted by the original resident, who's obviously content with the fact it hasn't been done. Your housing turned up on site with the cutters and said, is it this thing you're talking about? And I said, no, turn 180 degrees and it's in front of. Oh, right, we can see exactly what you mean. It's not ours. And they went, and they had all the kit there to do it.
Yeah, but didn't do it.
Now, so there's a shrub next to that, a shrubbery encroaching on the footpath next to that block of flats. It's the big white house, which has always got for sale signs outside. It's slightly detached to the side from the block of houses, but I would suggest in the past, it was possibly a garden area for that house. But because it's owned by multiple flats, getting the responsibility to find out who cuts it. Now, I do know a couple of people who would ordinarily go and cut this thing away to save the hassle. But unfortunately, it's positioned. There's no obvious place to put the cuttings. So it needs to be somebody who's got the kit to take the cuttings away, which is why it hasn't been done sort of off the record, so to speak. I'm loath to say, can we have it as a job to the landsman? I can't honestly think there's anywhere to turn at this moment in time. And if you saw this shrubbery, you'd understand why it wanted doing in May. And it wants doing, by goodness, it wants doing now. It's only probably a 15-minute job, but it's the fact that there's detritus to take away. There's no obvious place. There's no embankment to put it down, tree to put it on, whatever.
Thank you, councillor Yates.
First,
Will you liaise with the chief officer?
yeah, but it's just
Right.
emphasising the point. The other one is the footpath.
Yeah.
We haven't agreed yet, but the footpath opposite Halls Road playing field on the Bellway side, shall we say, on the Briarswood side. This is the first year where there's loads of grass and thistles and things which have grown, actually encroaching on the footpath and coming through the tarmac. The county have said it's the responsibility of the landowner. The landowner's Bellway. What are the chances of getting Bellway to cut that? It's probably with, again, removing the detritus and it needs a strimmer. It's probably a 20-minute job, 30-minute job. It's more cost to get the inspector to stare at it and decide he can't do it than actually doing it. Oh, it's frustrating. Okay.
Thank you very much.
And finally, the pocket park. No, seriously, this is one which we do. The pocket park is ready for its annual trim where we planted the trees. We always trim it back down, you know, all the things have grown, and obviously it's been mentioned by Council Lawton before, but we do trim it down in September. We have done that. Lensman's done it for the last couple of years.
I think so. It's not our land.
For the last couple of years. But anyway, it's rewilded, so I'm quite happy as it is, but you know.
Right, is that it? Are we done?
I have got another one, which is the steps from the Biddle Valley Way up to Halls Road, which again aren't strictly, who's on? They've just got covered in sand and you just want cleaning up, to be perfectly honest. If I've got some time, I'll take a shovel.
Thank you. Yeah, well done. Councillor Harper.
Thank you. Mine's a lot less complicated than this.
Well, everything's complicated, isn't it?
It's true, and again,
Councillor Harper.
involved. I think it was at the last finance meeting before, I raised this query of below my property, where the grass gets cut regular as clockwork. And since whatever meeting it was, it's been cut 3 times, but it stops. And my grass is bloody growing, along with my neighbours is growing. For some reason, they stop. Why? Whose responsibilities? Now, I have raised this.
Obviously, remember you raising it, yes.
So what's the crack?
I don't know.
Somebody
I'm turning to chief officer, because
That's what I met with last time.
Your grass.
How is that?
Should be declared.
Bit of rectoring. Oh, I should declare it.
I've got a panic at the side of my house that wants doing it with a hazel tree at the bit of it.
Oh, but this is the highway, this is the footpaths, not on the grass verges. Make money and not doing the job. So, you know.
Speak to the county councillor.
Or don't.
Yes.
You're not making money if they don't do the job.
Well, they stop dead.
I'll find out who's responsible.
We'll find out. We'll find out.
Who's doing it or not doing
You
it.
did publish a map, if you remember,
Did.
sent them out.
I'll find out where it goes up to.
Thank you. Any other jobs for the linksman? Anybody want their back lawn cutting?
No, what councillor Harper is referring to is obviously the public grass verge outside it.
Correct.
Presumably, the rest of the verges along there before Banana Bed
Yes.
are done by the lensman. So why the lensman
can't do that short bit and complete the whole lot to the end. I don't understand.
Yeah.
You will find out outside council.
House. Just doing the rest of the villages, that would make common sense.
Does Lens
It's all
do that bit round Banana Bay?
Anyway.
Bottomfold Lane.
Does
The
what?
other thing I wish to raise is the Halls Road sign is completely obscured by the hedge.
Again,
A few weeks ago, I think it was the county council highways cleared the hedge around the stop sign, and Halls Road was actually closed at the junction with Station Road. So there's me thinking, oh, they're going to do the hedge, they're going to cut all that hedge back, they're going to do the sign. No such luck. They just did the sign around, around the stops. So if the Halls Road sign is not going to be cut under health and safety regulations, I would like to suggest that we perhaps approach the district council to put a sign for Halls Road on the old Biddulph Farms side, which won't be obscured. The other thing I would like to ask is, I've noticed that there's a town ranger in Kidsgrove, and he publishes photos of before and after works that he's done. And it's all publicly available on Facebook. But how many people know what the town lensman is doing in Biddulph, members of the public?
The town lensman in Cheadle. We know him. We know him. He's a Cheadle district councillor, and everything appears on Facebook.
It's just a thought, if you're employing a lensman, it would be useful, not just us, but members of the public could see what works are taking place.
Yeah, we've thought about that. The only issue there is making sure he takes a photo before and after, reminding him to do that.
Yes.
But we have, we've thought about it.
Photograph of my grass verge.
You've just taken responsibility. Let the damn thing cook.
Right, thank you very much, Councillor Kaziki.
Your verge.
Chief Officer will try and find out. Thank you. Any further, I hate asking this question, any further items for the Legsman?
Now you've asked.
Councillor Jackson?
No.
No, you're just jesting me, aren't you? Yes, we're coming to the end of the evening. So thank you very much. We're moving into confidential. Thank you, YouTubers, for watching this meeting. We will now be going into confidential, so we will lose you.